Despite 8.4 million opportunities here in the city for friendships, companionships, relationships, and human connection, how can someone not only feel alone, but isolated and lonely? It's a good question, but it is the reality for many. No case exemplifies how isolated one can be in our crowded New York than that of George Bell. Bell was a 72-year-old man who died alone in his Jackson Heights apartment. The circumstances of his death were so troubling, it landed on the front page of the New York Times. But is loneliness the distressing and shameful state we make it out to be? Writer Olivia Laing set out to dig into the issue in her new book, The Lonely City: Adventures in the Art of Being Alone. And she joins me now. First of all, it's so nice to not be alone and have you here on the stage with me.
Thanks for the company.
But so first of all, how is that possible in such a huge crowded city, the biggest in America, people can end up feeling alone?
I think it's so easy for people to slip between the cracks of a city, and it can really intensify the experience of loneliness. There's something about being surrounded by a crowd of people clearly inhabiting very social lives that can make your own sense of isolation feel so much more profound.
Did this George case, did it have any impact on the work that you were doing?
I'd finished the book at the time that the story came out in the New York Times, but it resonated. I mean, I knew lots of stories like that. There was one of a Chinese woman recently who was trapped in an elevator for 3 months, nobody noticed. So there are people who can just fall through the cracks of society very easily, and I wanted to kind of understand how that happens.
How did your interest in this topic begin?
It started very personally. I had had a relationship breakup. I was living in New York on my own. I was subletting. I was drifting between apartments. And I was really lonely. And it was a painful experience. But at the same time, I became very attracted to it as a topic because I was aware that it's a taboo. It's a taboo state. It's very shameful to admit. It's very hard to talk about. And I felt like there was something really unexamined there that I wanted to get to grips with.
What is it about feeling lonely that's so shameful for people, especially New Yorkers, to admit?
I think we all want to be living successful lives. We want to be winners. We want to be people who have succeeded in a relationship. And loneliness cuts to the heart of our desire as humans to be connected. It's admitting that we haven't found enough intimacy, enough closeness as we might have liked.
So in your research for this book, was there anything that surprised you or stood out?
What I did with this book is I looked at the lives of lots of different artists. So I wanted to kind of come at loneliness from many different angles and look at it as it affects people who are very social, like Andy Warhol, and also people who, Henry Darg was one of the artists I talk about, and he was like George Bell. He lived a life of real isolation. And I felt like there were many different strands of loneliness. And I really wanted to try and understand what the forces were that were producing that.
Well, when you say different strands of loneliness, what are those different strands?
I think there's a kind of loneliness that's very deep, that's about really not having anybody at all in your life. But then there are other kinds of loneliness that I think affect many of us, which is the way that you can feel sometimes lonely with friends, lonely in a relationship, just desiring slightly more than you have of a kind of closeness, a kind of sense of home. And I think the other thing that's really important is the way that loneliness is often produced by stigmatization and exclusion. We, as a society, create loneliness by treating some people as if they are unhuman, expendable, and that was something I was really interested by.
There's been a lot of talk of younger people having exceedingly high expectations for life, and that was something that could play into their feelings of loneliness.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think with young people, there's also the issue of technology, that they're spending an awful lot of time on social media. In some ways, that's very connecting, and in some ways, the pressure to show off that you've succeeded in life, to sort of curate a life, is very hard.
So, and this might sound like a glib question, but what's a New Yorker to do to alleviate that feeling?
The thing that I think is most important, I mean, this book doesn't end with me meeting somebody and kind of, solving loneliness in that way. The thing that I really argue for is I don't think we need to feel so much shame around loneliness. I think it's the shame that causes so much of the pain about it. And there is nothing shameful about feeling this human emotion. It's part of the rich tapestry of human experience.
Wow, and unfortunately a painful one, but thank you for joining us and sharing your book. Olivia, I appreciate it.
Pleasure.